And the title of this video is Let's Talk About Why We Shouldn't. And this really is a continuation of what I said on my live last night about how not to do those things that we don't want to do. And I titled it Why We Shouldn't because I realized something. When I'm doing these videos, I really am trying to appeal to the believer, but I want to appeal to the world as well. And so you'll very often see me talk about something from the spiritual perspective and the secular perspective as well. Because I believe that if we understand the nature of God, then it will draw us closer to Him. Hey, Marissa, come on into the room. I'm just getting started, so you're right on time. So we're going to talk about why we shouldn't. So again, my point is I want to appeal to those people who may not believe as well. And part of the reason I want to do that because I believe that if people truly understand the nature of God, then they will draw closer to Him. And so part of my theory is that part of the world says that God says you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do this, and God says you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that, and that God just don't want us to have any fun. He just wants us to sit around all day long singing Kumbaya and just not enjoying life. And that is absolutely untrue, right? And so I want to talk about why we shouldn't, right? I'm not saying sin. Notice I'm just simply saying why we shouldn't. You can call shouldn't whatever you want to call it, right? As a believer, we are going to call it sin, right? But maybe that's not your testimony. But even if you are a believer, I want you to understand why you shouldn't. Why you shouldn't kill. Why you shouldn't steal. Why you shouldn't fornicate. Why you shouldn't commit adultery. Why you shouldn't lie. Why you shouldn't fight. Why you shouldn't. That's the whole point, right? So is God telling us not to do things because He doesn't want us to have fun? So He's telling us not to fornicate, right? And for those of you who don't know what fornication means, it means having sex outside of a married relationship. So He says don't fornicate. Is He saying that because He doesn't want us to have fun? He doesn't want us to feel what we feel when we engage in that activity? I think that's absolutely ridiculous to think that He does say that because of that. Because this is the God that created the body that enjoys sexual activity. So why would He tell you not to fornicate and He created you to enjoy that pleasure? Maybe it's the same reason your mother tells you that you shouldn't go over to your neighbor's house, because she can see that something no good is going on in their house even when you can't, right? And so she knows that something's going to pop off over there any day now, so she keeps telling you not to go over there. And it's not because she don't want you to go hang out with your friend and have fun. I say God is a parent first, right? And so when He tells us we shouldn't fornicate, maybe He's telling us we shouldn't do that because He actually looked into the future and saw the epidemic of AIDS. He saw the epidemic of teen pregnancy. He saw the broken homes that would result as a result of fornication, as a result of adultery. Maybe He's telling us not to create these sexual sins because He knows that there are repercussions for them, right? Maybe that's why He's doing. He's not saying we shouldn't because He don't want us to have fun. He's saying that we shouldn't because when you do, there's consequence to it, right? The consequences can be many. The consequences can be pregnancy. The consequence could be sexually transmitted disease. Or the consequence can simply be a broken house or a broken home, right? But there's always consequences. So the reason why we shouldn't is not because He doesn't want us to have fun. It's because He knows what the consequences are. Why shouldn't you lie? Because when you lie, it's gonna get caught. You're gonna get caught eventually. Why shouldn't you steal? Because there's a possibility that you might end up in jail, right? Why shouldn't we do things? It's usually because there's a consequence to them. Why not? Why shouldn't we, use drugs? Why shouldn't we indulge in alcohol? And I know plenty of us indulge in everything in moderation. I know that we got that. But when people tend to do it and it's not in moderation, there are consequences. There's some consequences even when it's in moderation. But why shouldn't we do these things? Because there's a consequences. Because if you smoke cigarettes, there's a possibility that you're going to get cancer. If you drink too much alcohol, there's a possibility that you can get cirrhosis. There's so many reasons that cocaine and crack kills, and heroin is the most addictive thing out there. God is not saying you shouldn't because He wants to keep you from having fun. He's saying that you shouldn't because there's a consequence to it. And again, I keep saying shouldn't. I'm not saying sin. right? I'm not saying sin because I really am trying to appeal to those people that believe and those people who may not believe. Because honestly, I'm going to be honest and wide open with you. My goal is always for the unbeliever to become a believer. But I believe that if you understand the nature of God and why he does things, that it draws you to him and not away from him, right? And so that's why I'm saying this. God says that you shouldn't for the same reason your mama and your daddy said that you shouldn't, because there is a consequence to every action. Praise God. That's my motivation for Monday. So I hope that this video blessed you. And if it blessed you, I hope it further blesses you into submission. And what are you submitting to today? Today, you are submitting to examining why you shouldn't. Right? Examining the consequences of if you do that thing that you shouldn't do. What are the consequences? And actually looking at the nature of God. I'm asking you to submit to viewing God as a parent and not this dictator who's lording over you, trying to keep you from having fun. That's what I want you to take away from this video today. So I hope this video blessed you again, and I hope it blessed you in some submission. Thank you so much.